After he does, he senses the twins, at which point he suits up and introduces himself, saying, "I'm ready. Let me guess, you're the next Scion, and you represent the inevitably avails." The brother says, "You're bold confronting me before I challenge you. It just gets better. You rush to your death. I'll be happy to oblige you when I decide it's time." Spider-Man's all like, "Oh, that's real neighborly of you. How about this? I challenge you right here, right now." The brother answers, "What? No, you can't do that. That's not how this works." But the sister says, "Actually, brother, he can. It's merely tradition that we issue the challenge first." Spider-Man then says, "Wait, I have to fight both of you at once?" But the sister says, "No, I am slightly younger than my twin. I will challenge you after he loses." As her brother says, "Thank you for the vote of confidence, dear sister." The brother then tells Spider-Man, "I am Calyx, the fourth Scion, the inevitability of pain, and I accept your challenge. Of course, you will have to decide whether or not to allow my crimson canines to wreak agony as you try to defeat me." Spider-Man says, "Okay, your fight is with me," as he releases his hounds on the city streets. The battle begins. But Spider-Man actually makes pretty quick work of the brother, beating him with his magical webbing and fists. So much so that Spider-Man asks, "Are we done here or what?" The brother replies, "Fool, I will never yield to you." Spider-Man says, "Suit yourself," as he unleashes a barrage of kicks and punches, beating the crap out of Calyx. At this point, Calyx is on his knees, and Spider-Man says, "Look, would you just yield? This is embarrassing. I'm embarrassed for you. I'm a guy who knows what it's like to take a beat down." But the brother says, "I will never submit to you." So at this point, his sister walks up saying, "Enough, you cannot continue, Calyx. It is my turn." The brother runs, "Fine, sister, have your home." Spider-Man's like, "So that's it? I won?" But the sister saying, "Yes, you wonderfully won. Congratulations, Spider-Man." He says to himself, "I didn't die. James wrong. I defeated a Scion, and I didn't die an excruciating death in the process." The sister says, "And now it's my turn." Spider-Man's like, "Alright, show me what you got." She said, "What I've got, I've got the inevitability of death." And with that, we jump into issue 65. The beginning of issue 65 opens up with the sister saying, "This is what makes the time awful. The Covenant is nothing but tornadoes in collision. The unstoppable is so stupid. I hate it. I hate those people to come out to me and spit me a rock. The most average star and engage with the champion of a race with insidious beings and pretend that he can be your Sorry to say, champion, our conflict is inevitable." Spider-Man's like, "You can always quit, because based on the beating I did, brother, me is inevitable too." The brother then says, while on the ground, "I have not conceded yet. Even now, I've blocked my second wave of attack." But the sister says, "We are different. My brother craves power, my father's favor. I want to go back to my chambers, perhaps watch this inevitable challenge from my mind with flag guns of red wine. Draw baths." Spider-Man's like, "You don't sound like the other Scions." She says, "You don't sound like an Earth champion." But here we are. The brother then says, "Eviscerate him, sister," but she tells him, "Silence." The sister then tells Spider-Man, "Hold this fear until you can no longer bear it. Set it down. The challenge is over, and I win." Spider-Man says, "Hopefully with the heat of 1,000 suns or something." She replies, "Pain is my brother's unimaginative obsession. The sphere shows only truth. I have found the truth is unbearable for your tongue." Spider-Man says, "How do I win?" She says, "Who knows? Yes, if I could. How would I do it?" She tells him, "Hold on until the sphere has nothing left to share." So Spider-Man grabs the sphere and says, "Let's get this over." We then see the sphere show Peter the day Hawkeye dies in the hospital. Spider-Man looks on and says, "Inevitability of death. That's your king? I've suffered more loss than you know, lady. I can watch sad movies about my life." She replies, "You will." As he then watches the Hobgoblin kill Mary Jane in the future, as Hobgoblin impales her through the torso with a projectile from his glider. Spider-Man then tells the sister, "I get this game. Who can get bored first? I'm winning. The future is invited. This is all this emo fanfic." She tells me, "True. It's possible she dies or sleep at 94 or choose on some fruits bar. What is indisputable, however, is that her life will end." Spider-Man says, "I know that." She says, "Yes, but now, feelings." She then shows him how Jacob and Jameson dies, and then Randy's death, Shay's death, Black Cat's death, Oswald's death, and so on and so forth. And Spider-Man not only sees their deaths, but he feels them. He then goes on to see and feel Spider-Boy's death, Ghost Spiders, and Miles. Every single death he sees Bill Coulson, a.k.a. Death, comfort his friend Dead Man. But when he sees Coulson come to Miles, he says no, grabbing him from behind and saying, "Not them, Coulson." Coulson replies saying, "It's the turns, buddy. I'm sorry, truly." Spider-Man's like, "I can save them." Coulson tells him, "You didn't. I'm sorry, I have to do my job. Just set down the sphere. It won't get better." As Spider-Man says, "No, Coulson." Spider-Man's all like, "You can't." But Down tells him, "I have no choice. I hope you know that." Spidey tries to use his magical webs on it, but it doesn't work. They just go right through him. As he says, "They deserve to live." Coulson says, "Everything that lives dies." You know that. As we see Spider-Man follow Coulson through all the lives he's having to take. He's gigantic.
with the ball, getting around the initial defender to make plays.
Everyone dies. Everyone is forgotten. Every legacy ends. Every great work is lost. You came from nothing. You return to nothing. Life is nothing. This is why you fight. In defense of the ephemeral whispers who were dead in the instant they were born, trapped in meaningless lives with inevitable ends, whose echoes fade and leave only silence. As the sister son looks on at Spider-Man, she says, "You have no idea how much I hate this though." No idea. At this point, now I shall finish the battle. And she says, "This is not your time, brother. Stop." But he continues to attack with Spider-Man, saying, "I will tell father of your assistance. He will know who killed the champion." As he starts beating the crap out of Spider-Man, saying, "See me, father. See me, son. See me." My brother actually kills Spider-Man, but of course, the Reeds bring him back to life. Before he comes back to life, he briefly talks to Death, who says, "You're more than halfway, Spider-Man. Hang in there." And when Peter comes back to life, waking up in his apartment, strangers there talking to him, asking, "How many did you get through? 171,963 is my record. I could have warned you. I'm sorry. Some child never changes. The others like to experiment, but you did it. You put it on. 3 Cylons were made, and if you can believe it, they're worse than what you faced thus far. You have operated yourself well, but I need you to redouble your efforts. The trials have required skill and imagination." Peter asks why. Strange replies, "I don't understand the question." Peter asks again, "Why do we do it?" Any of the Strange answers, "Peter, what you saw, what you felt. I know it's a lot." Peter says, "A lot." Strange then tells him, "But you know that people die. You're not really evil." Peter says, "Exactly what we are is eating them." Strange tells him, "Peter, I'm sorry you were pulled into this. I'm sorry it hurts." But Peter Strange is like, "You can't quit. The covenant must be upheld or the world falls." Peter says before walking out of his apartment, "Let it fall. I don't care." And with that, we move on to issue 65.5. Yeah, that's right. Before we get into the full-blown issue 66, there's the middle issue that breaks down a little bit of Agent Coulson. The issue does pick up with Peter walking out of the apartment while Doctor Strange is like, "You can't quit, Peter. We need you. The world needs you." But we see when Peter leaves, Doctor Strange is an actual detective as well. He then says, "You're not going to see me." Coulson says, "You can see me." Strange replies, "I may not be the Sorcerer Supreme anymore, but I'm still a master of the mystic arts. Of course I can see Death when he's in with me." Before he points to anything, Coulson asks, "About what?" Strange basically says, "About Spider-Man. Peter, he has to not come back. He has to be the champion." Coulson's all like, "We can't take sides, Strange." Strange tells him, says, "I know you're new at this, Coulson, but you're not the Watcher." Basically, Strange persuades Coulson to now to make him realize he has to be this. But it is where he captions and saying, "With Coulson, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. recently deceased, even when recently resurrected. When Death became an Infinity Stone, the stone spun out his remains and brought him back for reasons he can't fathom. Maybe it's for this, maybe he is meant to be the guided Spider-Man."
Did ask me to get there.
Peter, he tells Peter, "When I was 6, my grandpa died. I was the one who found him, though I can't remember much about it. I was a kid, you know. Next time Death had any effect on me was when our dog died. Time after that, my father, that one. Well, I don't know why the Death Stone chose me is what I'm trying to say. There's no special relationship, no unique connection. Why it brought me back to life instead of literally anyone else, I do not know. Death is a mystery even to me." Peter says, "You're here to coach me through this moment, right? You don't even know." Coulson says, "Sure, I do. Spider-Man. Amazing. Spectacular. Spider-Man. You're a hero." Peter replies, "I'm a costume clown doing cartwheels in the streets. What have I done, Coulson? I fought bad guys, invited calamity, endangered my loved ones, and for what? Nothing ever changes. All I've done is delay the inevitable." Coulson replies, "You're right. I don't know you. To know you, I'd have to see your life and the people you lost. But even so," Peter then interrupts saying, "So go ahead. That's one of your snazzy powers, isn't it? Take a good look." At which point, Coulson looks through Peter's life. All the trials and the loss he's endured. And eventually realizes Spider-Man should not be happy. The story is like a tragedy. In order for Spider-Man to be Spider-Man, he needs to have him driven by guilt, fear, and recrimination. Every death incident of Spider-Man batters and molds and shapes him into something different. As Coulson sees the results, if not the hands at work, if not the intent.
Nurkic is screen and shot from Trump, and Charlotte again with the
Each year, Porter just becomes more efficient and more deadly.
Newbies and first timers, we recommend starting today to train theme to get going. And don't worry, always treat your life, but let free understanding folks features and responsibility as some campaigns screenshot like themes provide essential features with symbolism. options.
Basket change. Lets it go from deep. That's basket number 2 with his third shot off to a fast 2 for 3.
And they're not
There's not the intent of purpose, but there is purpose, and this simple, elegant fact fills him with hope. And suddenly Coulson wonders that without all this death, would Spider-Man be able to save all this life? As we see Spider-Man saving so many people, Peter tells Coulson, stop. None of this matters. None of it means anything. Everyone dies anyway. And usually it's awful. You of all people should know that. Coulson then says to himself, he cannot see why the Death Stone had chosen him out of everyone. But a glimpse into the hardships that Peter Parker has endured forces him to reckon with his own shortcomings. There is a locked door in his memory, and Peter had shown him how to walk through it. The moments that shape us, the tragedies and trials, the deaths of loved ones, the misfortunes and hardships and setbacks and losses. They're each their own chisel, and the chisel strikes the marble, and the shape beneath is gradually revealed. In such a way, the universe built Spider-Man strong, durable, kind, compassionate, a man with an understanding of his true responsibility. But this covenant did what years of tragedy cannot. Death after death after death, beyond what even death himself sees daily on this planet. The reeds of Ragator saved Peter Parker, but death killed Spider-Man, as we see Peter buy a pizza and eat it while sticking to a building in the city. And just like that, we're brought to issue 66. The issue opens up with Sidorak sitting on his throne as his children say, Father, did you see that nonsense? Calix, who had already lost his challenge, interfered in the fight with Syra. Oh, great father of Sidorak, Father, I defeated their champion. Did you not see? As Sidorak just stares, Syra says, was that the approval you were craving, brother? It seems more to me like silent disappointment. Calix then says, Father, please. But Syra just tells him, enough, Calix, you had your chance and failed. It is Kratos' turn. Unless you disagree, wise Sidorak. Calix then walks away saying, must I continually be mocked and overlooked? The comic then brings us to Manhattan, where we see Peter yet again eating pizza, this time on the top of the building. We also get flashbacks of him ignoring Randy, even though Randy was trying to enter Peter's photos into a gallery. He's even told May when she asks, what do you mean you can't help me set up the community day? This is crunch time, Peter. He replies, yeah, I told you, May, I'm busy, it'll be fine. As Peter's continuing to look at the plan is pointless, since it all eventually ends, we see Syra and Strange watching, as Syra says, the human is nothing like the Strange. He never truly attacked me, but he never gave up. Strange replies, this is why you asked for my help, Syra? She replies, yes, let me finish. When we fought, you detached. The champion grieved each life, even those he never met. Irritating. Strange replies, that is one word for him. We then see Peter make his way to a convenience store, where we learn through a conversation with the cashier and a customer that the window watcher that Peter saved in issue 61 unfortunately passed away. As Peter gets some ice cream, he says to himself, one more reason to quit. Even when I help, I just delay the inevitable. Then as Peter's bringing his ice cream up to the cashier, someone is trying to rob the cashier. As Peter tells the robber, you're doing all this for like 64 bucks. You're going to give up 5 years of your life. Can't even buy a video game. The robber then points the gun at Peter's. And that's because it's so crazy. Now, one point, Smart Boy comes in and takes up the offer while saying, you shouldn't make fun of mental health. It's important. Some people need medication, and that's okay. Also, stealing is wrong. Peter then puts up to money saying, yeah, so since that's handled, can I go ahead and pay for this? As Peter walks out, he starts eating his ice cream with Spider-Man following, saying, hey, Peter, are you okay? Peter turns around saying, I'm fine, Spider. Just lying to myself. It doesn't matter how hard you work. You can't change things. As he remembers seeing Spider-Boy die, he continues to say, hey, don't waste your time with this nonsense. Don't play tag or something. Spider-Boy just says, I'm 10, and just because you're sad doesn't mean you give up. You have to keep trying, because things can get better. They do get better. Peter just says, sadly, they very much do not. Sorry, we didn't see Silent Strange. What is this? Listen, you think Strange says, good, just normal for now, but I do ask the same for you. Your challenge is supposed to be over. She said, yes, my grand challenge. I don't care about that. Why do I care about him? He didn't see Peter meeting Shane Times Square, and she's really pissed at him because he's been distant in weeks, ghosting her, and then she gets a message from him asking Peter for help. She shows up and he basically asks, how do you do it when it all feels so pointless? Being that she's a nurse and deals with tragedy all the time. In the end, she tells him there's a saying, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. Peter, find a professional to talk to, and good luck. Hope that helps. And as she walks away, Peter just sits there saying, it doesn't. As he envisions a bunch of deaths he was forced to see, they're then taken to X-Men headquarters where Juggernaut is saying, gotta go, gotta get going soon. Cyclops asks, Marco, it's okay. He says, no, Sir, this is not champion. Juggernaut continues to say, Psylocke, you gotta get to work now. Everyone is in danger. Cyclops then looks at Psylocke saying, you should get to New York, you can't be serious. She responds, he is, and he never suggests mission, so they get the Quintet ready and head to New York. As Psylocke gathers the others, we're then taken to Peter, who's sticking to a wall outside of Black Guy's apartment window as he says to himself, I should go. She doesn't need my nonsense right now. But before he can leave, she pokes her head out the window saying, Spider, why are you always leaving outside my apartment? And out of costume, as Peter also envisions her death that he saw. He replies, I saw you die, Felicia. I saw everyone die. Everyone. And it did nothing. The world went off. And I just can't. Black Guy then sits on the windowsill saying, Hey, Spider, that's how the story ends. Won the challenge, though, right? He says, I didn't lose, but I lost. And I don't think there could be a win. I just can't keep doing it, any of it. She asks, and you came here? Why? He says, when we first met, you asked me why I did what I did. I always had an answer. Sometimes I'm a little stupid and naive. Back then, I'm really stupid and naive now. Actually, I wouldn't do much of anything right now. She comes out the Peter saying, oh, Peter, you have to know that no matter how bad things get, there is still good in your world. As she starts kissing him. And yet again, straight inside the part, you know, this time he's saying, I thought you said you was but judged all by you. And he is not like you. This new champion is showing me how little I understand. He seeks to find comfort in one whose loss will destroy him. It's a contradiction. Birth of logic. Strange tells her, that's humanity on the show. Peter is feeling. Strange asks her, what did you do to him? She says, nothing I didn't do to you, just more of it. He asks, how much more? She says, last we met, you endured 809,000 deaths. And Strange asks, and Peter? She responds, 3 million. And he didn't drop the spear. And after breaking, he can't help but see connection. And I must ask why. We are then taken back to Calix, who says, no one in the cruising board has ever traveled beyond the casket. They went barely in my father's pointless protective shell. But I dare, because I fear nothing. The blight, this is what they fear, the free beyond the protection of the casket. Ha! I'm a nine, emptiness. I, Calix, best son of Ciderin, am here. Show me what there is to fear. Show me why my father cowers at the mere mention of your existence. Just as I thought, another one of my father's pointless rules. But out of nowhere, tentacles start coming out of the ground as he says, what is this? I can't move. He must turn back as he talks to his canines. Almost there, my strength will carry me through. Do you hear that, father? My strength, not yours. You see, he's able to free himself, saying, so that is what he fears. The loss of control, the fading of his power, but I face the blight and survive. In fact, I feel stronger than ever before. Come, my crimson canines. It is time we had a chat with our brother. As we see the blight has infected his leg. And on the next page, Kratios comes to Earth saying, prepare to meet your end, miserable human, as he appears in front of an old lady and her dog. She runs away while he asks, where is the champion? Answer the call, coward. A victory without battle is a hollow one. Will no one fight Kratios? But a voice says, we will, as we see it's Juggernaut and the X-Men. As Juggernaut says, the X-Men accept your challenge. This brings us to issue 67, where we see Peter wake up at Felicia Hardy's apartment as she breaks up a cup of coffee. He then says, thanks. Look, about last night, she answers, yeah, I have to head out. Can you lock up when you go? As Peter says to himself, Felicia doesn't want to talk about it, which is fine by me, because for once, I don't either. So she kisses him on the cheek, and he answers saying, sure, thanks for letting me crash you. And then tells him, that's what friends do. As Peter watches her leave, he says to himself, I hear a buzz, the tingle of magic, one of sitting in silence, as comes fewer. I try to care, it doesn't work. So Peter has been really checked out. Across town, we see the X-Men fighting Kratios, who says to the X-Men, he's really beat me so easily. Psychopaths need to limit his movement so that we can keep the fight contained. That's you on the psychic front here, Omega. Temper, can you ice the roads so it's difficult to line purchase? The crazy part is, none of the X-Men's attacks are really doing anything to Kratios. So much so, he even says, none of you are champions, thus you have no chance. Stop annoying me while I destroy the world. Cyclops says, yeah, no, we're just getting started. Kratos then tells them how I'm using humans are weak next to the blade.
They haven't been
Shows up saying, oh yeah, Black Cat was one of the ill, as we see Dougie stomp Kratios into the ground. Meanwhile, Earth is watching this in his throne in the Crimson Cosmos. As one of his children says, Earth's champion did not show. When the covenant nullified, father, will you let them fight? But he doesn't answer as Kratios asks Dougie, to challenge your betters. The consequent father's power that you possess do not make us king. We're not the son of Sarah. You are no champion. The Earth says, shut your mouth, the X-Men's champion now, as they all continue their assault on him. Back appears a apartment. Dr. Strange physical himself shows them Peter saying, we need to talk. Peter says, why? Aren't you tired of telling me the same thing over and over? Strange says, I should not be here, as there are other world-ending problems I need to attend to, but I have to tell you about the light now. Peter said that.
And now the first time I've called here for the Hornets.
Once again, audio at Fulton University, recording, producing, live events, and getting hands-on at our Florida campus studios, labs, and
Miles Bridges. Great show for him last season. Last season, he averaged 20 points a game, 7 rebounds, and 3 assists.
Because I should not be here, as there are other world-ending problems I need to attend to. But I have to tell you about Light Now. Peter says, pass, unsubscribe, strangers use the really to lift Peter up, saying, whether you like it or not, you will hear what I have to say about the light. There is no more time to coddle you. We are then taken to the Crimson Cosmos, where Cal is holding his head as his body is clearly affected with the light. He tells himself something has changed after even the protection of the casket while challenging my father's edict. I feel so. What is this affliction? As he screams pain, he then says, oh, now I understand power. As we see his body transform, he continues to say, my hopes, my dreams, and petty desires. Such a waste of time. Yes, this is true. There is so much to be done, so much to claim. Come, my house, we have work to do, as he's now been infected with the power of light. We're then taking him back to strength. He tells Peter, when I first encountered the blight, it nearly destroyed me. I was young, younger then. The secrets of the universe were revealed to me, and I was filled with wonder and awe, but was still not ready for the cosmic energy known as the light. I studied it because that is who I am, but the more I learned, the more I realized that it was a threat to everything I hold dear. I tried to destroy it, but it was a wasted effort. The light is eternal. It is a force of nature. Its next role lies the solar flare of death. It exists to extinguish light. If it were to pursue humanity, it would be our end. I searched for a way to destroy the light through this reality and others who could not even begin to imagine. There was only one option, the spell of the casket. I rejected that solution at first. Eventually, I did the unthinkable. I made the party with her. Resulted of it because the casket is the only thing to provide for receiving her and raining misery down upon us all. The light seeks to improve life and does so through an affliction known as soul rot, an endless torture where living things seek out the things they love the most and destroy them. So this explosion clear holes at what exactly is in the casket, and that is the light. The reason for trade to make the covenant is Cigarette in the first place. And now Cal.
MP out.
Has been infected or taken over by it. Strange thing goes on its own, Peter. There are things worse than death, and the chaos that life would wreak on are among them. Peter says, I understand what you're saying. What does it mean? We save people from that. Something as bad or worse comes anyway. Strange then gets in Peter's face saying, we need to snap out of this, Peter. The X-Men are brave to take on Radios, but they aren't the champion. You were chosen. You were brave. You were given all the tools you needed. If you do not return to the field of battle, the blight will destroy everything. They will lose. Peter says, I wish you and the X-Men all the luck in the world. As Strange just looks at Peter like, really? Yeah, this is some of the most down and out people we've seen Peter. He doesn't care if it means the end of the X-Men or the Earth. He thinks this is all just so pointless. When Strange is gone, Peter says, you may as well do two or stay, or keep your previous surveillance. Makes no difference to me, sire. Which then tells him, you are certainly fascinating people, but you are not all that I watch them. These are times unparalleled. I watch your city, your people, and I watch my brother as those who foolishly take up your quest, as we see the Juggernaut fight Kratos. The Juggernaut getting the upper hand. Kratos says, I yield. You may have won this day, as someone punches through his chest from behind, saying, foolish brother, he may yield, but I do not. As we see it's Calix return and says, I, Calix, and my robot dogs claim the Earth as our own. Go, show them what it means to suffer. The X-Men start to fight the robot dogs as Juggernaut goes to punch Calix, but Calix just stops Juggernaut's punch with a single hand, saying, my father sees fit to bestow investigators on everyone but me, but I have something better now. As he talks to Juggernaut through his phone window, Magic runs over saying, you okay, Kane? He says, no one stops the Juggernaut, but apparently, if you have the power of the light, you do. Calix then says, do you see this, father? As Cyrus starts crying, she says, no, Kratos can't be. He cannot die. Oh, mortal, everything just got so much worse. But that we jump to issue 68. Alright, issue 68 starts off with the Shepard's War. As Peter says, it's strange to see a scion sit there and cry. Whatever Cyrus saw as her shaken up. I'm guessing it's that, just for the up. For everything she showed me, I'm not sure if lots of other rises to that level. Thanks for the chat. There's somewhere else you need to be. She says, not me. You need to see us. It takes into the battle in the streets. As he looks on, he says, no. As Death A.K. Bill Wilson is standing beside the dead bodies of his best friends, he's saying, I'm sorry, Peter, they're gone. As we look at Randy, Shay, and Aunt May killed by the battle, with Radiance. Peter then says, this isn't how it's supposed to be. I saw their deaths, felt them, this wasn't it. Simon tells him what I showed him was one possibility. Things changed. He asks what changed. He says you refused the call. And rejected your responsibility as champion. As he holds up Omni's body, he says, so this is my fault. I felt like nothing mattered, but it does. How could I forget that? Every death I experienced during Simon's trial hurt less than the grief clawing at me now. What's wrong with me? I've been having a pity party while lives are at stake. As he sits back up in his Mystic Spider-Man, it tells Coulson the reads, if I give you the remaining reads to write for, can you bring them back to your life? I'm sure there are ramifications for such a deal. Spider-Man then yells at him saying, bring them back to Coulson. Coulson replies, but the reads, your last reads. Spider-Man says, bring them back, preferably without them remembering how they died. Simon then says to Spider-Man, champion without the reads, if you die again, when you die again, it will be permanent. He tells her, that's a chance I'm willing to take. Do it, Coulson. So he does, bring his friends and Ahmed back to life. As he says to himself, I'm sorry I wasn't there for you. I'm sorry to let you get her. It's at this point Spider-Man gets to work. And he tells Simon, writes for Alex now. As rematch allowed under the covenant, she realized there's something trying to play here and here. It's Mike Alex and attack him directly. He's a conduit of the power essence. Peter Parker then goes over to Juggernaut being like, hey, have you seen a guy who had an sense himself? Juggernaut replies, he swatted me like a fly, and you think you got what it takes to stop him? Spider-Man replies, maybe, with a little help from the X-Men. At which point, Juggernaut and the X-Men are retail, and when they find Alex, he has Cyclops behind the net. So Spider-Man and the X-Men get to work. And even blast Alex from about to smell, but the smoke clears, he comes out saying, you haven't been paying attention. He's sitting on his pipes. Life takes years. At which point he sends his rock canines to attack everyone in the city, and then just makes them explode, saying, it's time I left for more promising ventures. Good luck. I played my mom. When he came to the planet, once Alex leaves, Cyclops says, hey Parker, she has to win $100,000. Wins in. Turns, I played my public domain, and many tornadoes of your planet. Once Calyx leaves, Cyclops says, hey Marco, I'll catch. As he blasts his off the glass, Cyrus says, no, and grabs Spider-Man saying, we need to get out of here. Spider-Man tells her, hey, what gives and where are we? As we see she brought into a place between her. She then tells him, you cannot help your friends like this. Your friends, they belong to the light, and it's like this all over the city. People let me go to destroy them, which they will fear. Sora, I vertical, the light switch. The fabric of your world is on that says poison. We must stop him. And now we must go to the Prince of Cosmos before Calyx and the remaining scions as ingredients. Spider-Man says to himself, soul, the best food to your strength. He tells her, so quick, you suddenly cares about here, it'll shoot at you. She realizes there is something wild here. There is still so much I do not understand about humans, but I want to. Now, this is not surprising that she seems very different from all of the other siblings. So they make their way to her world, and when they get there, Simon says, all the people in my family's dead. Calyx did this. My brother did this. Should have asked father, how could you let this? Why does my father not fight that? He is a warrior. This is his domain. Spider-Man tells him, understand what exactly is happening. That just feels like something strange and alien, even after all of the champion nonsense. It definitely seems like the big guy should learn more to fight. Simon says, my father will fight. I will sleep around my father while I fight Calyx. She then says, brother, where do you hide? I came to stop you. As we see Spider-Man tries to get Sinner out to talk, it opens up above them, and we see it's the light coming through, and it's terrifying. It looks like a freaking monster spider thing. Spider-Man says, so I've been afraid before, but the terror now makes every other moment pale in comparison. This is the blight that's strange. Spider-Man continues to say, how can you fight something so powerful? Calyx said, saying, you don't know this was your last breath. My triumph will be complete. As he snaps Spider-Man's neck, just dropping his body in front of Syra, with Agent Coulson appearing behind her saying, you did your best, time to go. And with that, the next choice. Spider-Man 16 spin-off / filler issue. Full issue revolves around by the X-Men who are getting infected by the blight, and eventually Divine Force to Terror, managing Cyclops to make them able to speak
There's a fearlessness that really brings to this team. Welcomes the chance to
see, I keep playing hero, which ain't in the job description. So when I do good things, I get weird, and no one's scared, which makes you mad. That all turns me weird genius, and it's like, show me that side, show me that side,
And here's Charlotte. They're on a 14-5 run.
Take my
Shots good. Now it's a 4-point bonus
so I say,
lead.
this whole next season, let's create a big moment. The Avatar should be unstoppable. How my blood will on the regular my post like the X-Men because they had friends. And I was like you, big, stupid, and pointless. You know, the only time anything I did matter was my friends. So I'm about to kill them on your say-so. Now when it seems to me, you're the face of the whole here. Now if you send me, have to let me handle things in my get off your fat right behind. Pick me up. It's at this point Serac sense it happening. Once Juggernaut returns, he starts soloing the X-Men. At one point, Cyclops says, "You made your choice, Marco. I won't hold back." But Juggernaut just tells him, "I know I say it a lot, but today it's extra true." Nothing stops the Juggernaut as he takes down Cyclops. At this point, Magic gets in with her sword, stabbing him in the back, but Juggernaut's like, "Yeah, not today." As he says, "Can you hear me, sir? I'm not giving up. Give me whatever power you can or don't. I'll keep fighting, but I won't kill them. You might see enemies here. All I see are people who didn't give up on me when they had every reason to. So I'll be damned if I give up on them. You want to take my powers? Go ahead. I'll go down and escape Arnold as Juggernaut did to fight them all with the help of Sid. And which meant, to be honest, his body has that is ready to take him on his side. And it's that we go to issue 69. Issue 69 starts off back where we last left off. Juggernaut continuing to fight the blight infected X-Men. As I was counting should say, my father is fond of playing games. This should not shock any Sam, the master of the unforgiving friend of Cosmos, hatred of the unstoppable Juggernaut. As we see Juggernaut say, "Snap the hell out of it, X-Men." Time's captions continue. Perhaps it's how he finds pleasure in an unending, inevitable existence. He certainly does not find it in his children. Today, however, my father's games have taken a turn, and the denizens of London shall be the first victims of his folly. Broken toys, hollowed, forsaken by a god, left to wither and rot, for their souls by an insatiable blight. My father's foolish game of things lost and ever as we see the light come down on top of my head. Alex, seeing her beautiful one sister, whose beings care about nothing, yet you came to the aid of this miserable human. You hate father. When I finally rebuke him, you take up arms against me. I have no concerns, no conceived covenant. Free me, and your eyes carry hard time shaking. I do not know whether to pursue or marry. My favorite tonight, that's a sister. She then replies, "This is not too hard, Alex. Light was never meant to fight this realm. You realize the light is powerful. So that we will make out one shadow. Who's afraid of what I can do with this?" Battle speaks, father directly, and with extreme vigor. I want to join me. Now that one, I'm not true to see. She then sees he's right about what that happens. And fickle thing is I don't defense myself. Now realize not to be rude, but it's a little late to stop me in the past. You care about people side on the side of the cinema. It's funny for Spider-Man, who used to, if you'll excuse me, I have to get to work. Thanks to your mother, I'm about to be very, very busy. She replies, "Honored Avatar of Death, I know that you must carry on with your grim work, but this is all wrong." As Calix attacks his father, Sire continues to say, "Serac is the most powerful of the Quintessence. Even if Strange speaks true, and Serac did not know of the blight, my father yields to no one and no thing. Why does he not fight back against my brother?" Death replies, "Is that what you were really asking, sir? Something else bothering you? We're just taking back to it." Up there, like, observing and trying to fight back the light, and says, "This is your folly, Strange." Strange answers, "It's not too late, Victor. Go to Center and convince him to restore the casket, to lock the blight and extract the response beyond that. You should have let me wipe the snake for you, but a silent Strange tells me you should accept it. So, handle this plan in this universe, because you're willing to suffer if it tells you watch your tongue. Strange grabbing me by the shirt saying, "Your sorcerer's remaining the blight king's this realm failure is yours alone." But didn't just respond by blasting Strange's out of possession while saying, "Do not question your better, Strange." Death then says, "Until very recently, your world proceeded as expected. Serac sat on his throne immovable. Your brother lusted for power he never had. The Covenant game or not began as it had many times before, and you didn't care about any of it until you did. Syra replies, until Spider-Man endured the deaths I showed him. Death says, wrong. You're so close, Syra. Not the deaths. She answers, the lives? Death then says, you and your father are essentially immortal. You see the curvature of the horizon of time. From that detached point of view, it's easy to believe that nothing matters until one day an insignificant player enters the game and your perspective shifts. Your eyes fall from the endless horizon and land squarely in the now. What's happening now? She then says, Sirak is not immovable. He's paralyzed by loss, but he can't feel loss unless. Death says, add a girl, I knew you'd get there. Death then continues to say, can't feel loss unless you have felt love. Love for a friend, love for a parent, love for a hero. Who knows that each of the tiny lights that illuminate the infinite dark of the cosmos, or even a single heartbeat, is fragile and unique and beautiful, so it deserves to be protected. That's what your father is feeling. That's what you are feeling, Syra. Love for life is the only meaning that can be found in a meaningless universe. The weight is unbearable to some, to others, Syra asks to him. Death replies, Spider-Man's dead, Syra.
Almost 7 years hard lunch from writing songs and I'm venturing up to self-releasing my music and performing live as an independent artist. I've been writing songs and performing since I was a kid, but it wasn't until college that I decided to take the leap and actually record and put my music out on major streaming platforms. I'll be honest, I had no idea what I was doing when it came to the business of recording and releasing music. All I knew was how to write and sing a song. Finally, I found this out with the studio.
Death replies, Spider-Man's dead, son. Life and the killing it is a job for the living. She then grabs Death by the collar, saying, I will strike a bargain. He tells her, Death can't bargain, she tells him, but it can be staved off with a reed. With magic, with a trade, and the power and immortality of the Scion of Sirak to restore the indomitable human spirit. As they both look at Spider-Man's body, Death says, Strange's use of the reeds was unorthodox. There was a precedent for the Path of Ragathor. It was basically a giant FU from one god to another, but this, she asks, can you do it? He replies, can you? This is not a simple trade, it's a separate piece. She asks him, do it, it can be done. Read the quote for the last stop for society is made a cow. He says, okay, well, this my thing. As he transfers the Crimson Essence from Sodom to Spider-Man, Death says, immortality traded for the remaining days of one mortal life. The universe screams, this is not a wonderful fix. Actually, the universe would be right, but I'm used to the job. Surely I'm allowed to stake in the name of love. That's Cyrus for Peter. Not mine for him either, but for Spider-Man's love for us, all of us. With Peter alive once more, yes. She says, I learned to care because of you. He says, I don't know what to say. Thank you, doesn't seem big enough. He says, visits, and I'll say anything. She continues to say, become what you must and defend that which you love so dearly against my family's folly. Become a weapon and shed the whole of blood. Become strength, incarnate, become unstoppable, become a juggernaut. As with her power, he becomes a juggernaut. The Spider-Man. And this is all happening while Callus tries to kill his father. And this brings us to issue 70, the conclusion of 8 deaths of Spider-Man. And on the opening page, we see Spider-Man now a juggernaut himself punching Callus. As his captains say, ever since the spider bite changed the course of my life, I've understood what it's like to feel strong, but I have never felt unstoppable, intoxicated. As he punches Callus, he goes back to Earth. Which is insane. Even that strange, what has he done? As Callus gets back up, saying, Spider-Man offered Juggernaut a hand. Hey, Juggy, thanks for holding the fort. You got Spider-Man replies, just a guy who trying to do better. You look ridiculous. Spider-Man replies, but I'm great. How's the team? Juggernaut answers better. You knocked the rock right out of me. Bad entrance. Ash then gets up, saying, Kane, I heard you. He says, barely expect you don't know that magic. She replies, I don't. Just wanted it noted that I got it a good shot. Rubber or not, it counts. Look here, Spider-Man. Juggernaut replies, she's fine. Now right the head. Callus gets back up with his rot hounds. Spider-Man then says, it's all for nothing if you don't give the son of your boss an attitude adjustment. Juggernaut replies, no one's the lights of the Juggernaut says for the first time you understand why you feel that way, like on a cellular level. Juggernaut tells him, yeah, it rocks. Never heard of the fastball special? It's an aspect thing. As he throws Spider-Man into Callus. At this point, Juggernaut basically tells Spider-Man, look, I'll take on Callus, leave the fights up there with a blighted sun. Spider-Man tells him, light, it's God, it's so big. So small for device. You're a Juggernaut, nothing. Just do. Always work for me, more or less. And with that, Spider-Man charges up, saying, this was a good life. Once more from the chest, as he used his Juggernaut power, individual abilities, being the champion of the covenant who jumped into space, punching right through light. Meanwhile, back in the Crimson Cosmos, Cyrus talked to her father, Sirak, telling him, I have trained my immortality, my share of your crimson magic, to spare the life of the champion, so that he can save the Earth realm. Thank you. Her father asks, why am I immobilized, indecisive, confused? She replies, I have been asking myself that very question since I met this curious human. The unthinkable has happened. You've lost 6 of your children. Their immortality, their essence, stripped away by the blight in the form of Calyx. Humans call it grief. Sirak screams, nothing is unsuitable. But she says, no, the great Sirak did nothing as his son killed his siblings and attacked his father. You are broken. He then tells her, make it stop. She says, I cannot. Pain is inevitable. But maybe there is one who can help if it is not too late. We then see Spider-Man floating in space as he temporarily entered the blight, and his captions say, horrifying as it is, the blight is a force of nature. It exists to pull souls for existence. Why? Blight as well as why there's gravity or phasers. It doesn't matter. Doctor Strange fears going to have attention from this thing, but it's so power of God. I'm a kid from Queens, got a crash course in natural philosophy, slice of power. God's daughter, I think I can make it work. I can cast the casket for certain continuously until I die. Sirak says failure is inevitable. Maybe not today. With the power of my blood coursing through you, you can live 100 years. But the blight is part of the primal fabric. Satan will prevail. Eventually, Spider-Man then says, as he's using his magic and godlike ability to hold up the light, I know my Sirak, your honor, or whatever, but I'm casting this spell anyway, so if you're not the solution, Sirak says the blight will prevail. Why would we fight? Why would life is despite natural craziness in the last few days, this is a moment I might have. Most of the time, it's hard. It's not fair. Sometimes it flat out sucks. But it's not life. There's not another one like it anywhere. It's beautiful exactly because it is so fragile. Every life is like that. Even if in 1,000 years my life and anything I've ever did won't matter, it matters today. Today is worth fighting for. To your future horizon of infinity, I don't expect you to understand, Sirak, and I don't care. I'm alive. I'm fighting, just like ever. But at that moment, Sirak pushes Spider-Man away and captures her with the shots of sin. We found the crimson casket that shields this world, this dimension, from the horror of the blight. I'll protect my remaining children alive as they operate in this world. This is the new covenant, not forged on a whim, not even forged by my own will. I made this pledge because I grieve, and I fear that without it, grief is all that will remain. On this day, the Sorcerer Supreme taught God what it means to live, forced me. Shivering from blood. I decided to shoot from the light, now being able to feel what grief is after losing several of his children, and in the book of Ashanti, Duke is taking credit for it, which is hilarious. Anyway, after Spider-Man is on himself once again, just lying on the pavement, tired, saying to Doctor Strange's astral projection, I never want to do magic ever again, not even at kid parties. Now, Strange saying, sometime after this we see Peter going around apologizing to Aunt May, Black Apple, and Shay. Peter apologizes to Shay, which now has a photo gallery that Randy put on for him. It says, I was in a bad place, and that's not an excuse for being naive, but I wanted you to know I got to the other side. What you said about pain versus suffering helped a lot. Life on life's terms, and it made life decides that I can probably do the try. She replies, well, I've been thinking about it. We're probably being embarrassed after the meeting Mary will take after the show. He replies, ouch, you're killing me. Keep going, as the comic intro caption saying, I was here, I was loved, my life, and then you have friends take down some Spider-Man, and then she tied issues. This was one hell of a story that really that means Spider-Man, and it could even, which of course it does. In the end, the story was telling us through Spider-Man that it doesn't matter what you do today is going to change things tomorrow, only years from now. You do what matters in the here and now, that's all that you can do to everything else. Post breakdown with Spider-Man struggling to be a hero after seeing so much death, realizing that no matter what he does, it's all going to end. And when he gave up, being like, yeah, I don't care what's going to happen. Unfortunately, realizing that it still doesn't matter because what you do today as like tomorrow doesn't mean you shouldn't be good in the here and now. It's really something I know a lot of you can relate to, as in life, we think things are important because it's like, oh, that's not going to change things. From behind the arc, doesn't matter. Doing making the right choices always matters, whether it has long-term effects or not.
Thinking about the hustle stats for the Thunder. Well, the effort they've shown on defense has been infectious.
I just really liked how the 64 Spider-Man's music quiet about being a hero. Now, you got a lot of moments. I mean, Spider-Man becoming Juggernaut was absolutely insane. I would see that come back on someday. Not to mention, he was also a sorcerer on top of that. And sure, I really enjoyed the Spider-Man story, what did you guys think? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments. We'll see you next time when we talk about all things comics. What's up, everybody? Godzilla has been a little bit everywhere for the past few years, from major movies like The Amazing Godzilla -1 to major crossover comics like DC's Justice League vs. Godzilla vs. Kong, which actually has its sequel title dropping on June 4th. But Marvel was also feeling the Godzilla FOMO, so starting back in March, they launched their own Godzilla vs. the Marvel Universe series, with Godzilla vs. Fantastic Four leading things off, followed by Godzilla vs. Hulk, Godzilla vs. Spider-Man, and now Godzilla vs. the X-Men. Now, it's always fun to see the King of Monsters match up with heroes from either universe, but the X-Men bring a very interesting take to the Godzilla vs. concept, because the members of the team have such unique power sets that it stands out amongst the other matchups from Godzilla. Having said that, before we even get into the issue, could obviously be argued that certain mutants like Jean Grey, Resurrex himself, are powerful enough that they might be able to handle Godzilla on their own. But with the giant beings, being monstrous, force-natured, and even somewhat mysterious when it comes to the ceiling of his power and invulnerability, it makes for a fun matchup with any hero or super team. In fact, this series of Marvel one-shots are building towards a 5-issue Godzilla Destroys the Marvel Universe miniseries later in July, spearheaded by writer Jerry Duggan. So both DC and Marvel are putting Godzilla to the test this summer, and we are here for it. Okay, so up to this point, each of the issues in this series has involved Godzilla being drawn out and into action by various threats. But they've also introduced slowly temporary power upgrades for Godzilla to combat those massive threats. For instance, in Godzilla vs. Fantastic Four, the Silver Surfer transferred the power to Godzilla so that he could take down King Ghidorah, who had been made into a herald of Galactus, which of course is just nuts, but it definitely set the tone for everything that's come after. However, this Godzilla vs. X-Men issue takes a slightly different angle as the book opens up at the Amari shipyard in Japan, where we find Sunfire using a superheated plasma in an attempt to stop Godzilla's blasts. The narration tells us not even Japan's protector is capable of withstanding the power of Godzilla, as Sunfire is knocked out of the air by Godzilla's blast. So here, the comic begins by liberating about half of the version around Godzilla's recent appearances. As it reads, this is the Creature's third attack in as many weeks, and no one considers the specific nature of the targets a coincidence. As Godzilla released another blast, they completely obliterate Ingress, Transformation, and stock next to it. And this is followed by captions that give us an idea of why Godzilla is likely targeting this location in the first place. It reads, it had been years since Godzilla had been sighted. The people of Japan hoped it was gone for good. Yet another Suganai Robotics manufacturer facility falls prey to the monster's might. Okay, so Godzilla already appears to be sense of a threat to the balanced power of Earth, and that threat can be biological. Minimum fee, no minimum count, 360 checking account due for you. A lot. They consider that any count, one count.
The basket drops, and he gets fouled on the shot. One free throw coming his way.
Godzilla appears with a sense of threat in the balanced power of Earth, and that threat can be biological or mechanical. So clearly, Suganai Robotics is something that the thing is having. Anyway, on the next page, we are taken to the expansion of Professor X is in the middle of the virtual meeting with Valkyrie and Regenerate, who's the CEO of Suganai Robotics, and officials from the Japanese government to discuss the X-Men assisting with the Godzilla problem. At the recommendation of Sunfire, however, Charles has noticed that Godzilla's actions have been specific and consistent behind reason motivations. So he wants to make an attempt to reason with the beast before attempting to use any more force with beings. However, the group he's talking to isn't the idea, especially considering Professor X can't be certain that he's right, but they agree to let him try with the reassurance that should his methods not succeed, they're part of the approach and also certain. Right here, we're taken to the danger line where we see beasts, the more Jean Grey's Cyclops, and the flames running training simulations for a battle against Godzilla. And as they discuss the different aspects of Godzilla's power and they'll encounter the fight against him, Charles interrupts to tell them that the Commission on Superhuman Activities has accepted their assistance in command. He also makes it abundantly clear that while he truly desires a meeting of the minds with the creature, they also have to prepare to confront Godzilla on his terms. Now, obviously, the X-Men are fully aware that they're about to go up against a radioactive lizard as tall as a skyscraper, so Scott chimes in and says, that's easier said than done when your opponent is over 100 meters tall. To which Charles responds, I imagine it's fortuitous that we were working on getting one, but this is where the issue really jumps up a notch, because the solution Professor needs to come up with is the dope. Now, on the next page, we are taken to Gambit, who is breaking into a CSA storage depot in Boulder, Colorado, and communicating with Beast via comms. Hank tells Gambit the target is 4 levels down, 3 corridor breaks to the north. Remy then repels down a shaft into a storage space, and on the next page, we see that they're there to steal the freaking Super Adaptoid. Now, if you're familiar with the Super Adaptoid, you already see where this is going. For those of you who may not know, the Super Adaptoid is an AI-created android that dates back to the early years of Marvel Mr. Stanley. In fact, his first appearance was in Tales of Suspense, all the way back in 1986. Anyway, as the captions tell us, the Super Adaptoid is a non-sentient construct made of unstable molecules, which allows it to replicate the superpowers of normal heroes and villains, including the X-Men. You can basically think of it like an android version of Taskmaster. Not only are they planning to imbue the Super Adaptoid with the powers of the X-Men to chase Godzilla for some reason, but they also brought chimpanzee goals to shore up the size problem, which is of course the exact kind of Saturday morning cartoon level awesomeness that these type of crossover covers created. It's just ridiculous fun, but the story that jumps forward in time by 2 days, and as we take it to another super manufacturing facility in Japan, we see Godzilla approaching, and narration begins to make clear why he is attacking these manufacturing facilities by telling us they don't stop, they never stop, they hunt Godzilla, they howl Godzilla, every step they take is always a step towards self-destruction. They escalate, Godzilla obliterates. They protect each other by harming the monster and its enemy, but in the name of security, they threaten the safety of all, and always they escalate. Now, the comic is clearly
You wrote the shit out for a nigga.
but the issue with the face of that, we'll see the cargo ship approaching the port as the name tracks.
Ooh, that Brady did. Yeah.
Godzilla is there to destroy whatever it is sky and trains who's flying villain. But the next panel, we're taken to the X-Jet, which is flying above the facility as Professor X and his X-Men sync up to the Super Adaptoid using a portable cerebral. Carl says, whatever's on that ship, it is generating great turbulence with Godzilla. I can't read the creature's mind, but its rage is palpable. We then tell the X-Men connected to the Super Adaptoid via line link via settling interest. But to stop Godzilla, we will have to work together as Netflix. Then on the next page, we see Godzilla emerge from the water in front of the ship as it attempts to dock it. And just as the ship is about to capsize, we see the Super Adaptoid come flying into the hull and release a blast of static electricity on Godzilla. Then all at once, the Super Adaptoid becomes imbued with the powers of Storm, Beast, Gambit, Jean Grey, Cyclops, Wolverine, and Professor X, creating this freaking amazing OP hybrid with flames from the Phoenix Force even forming wings on its back. Now, obviously, that is a ton of power, so Charles takes control of the Adaptoids. Then, as Superpower Radio sends to let Charles know he's on his way, Professor X activates the particles, causing the Super Adaptoid to grow large enough to stand toe-to-toe with the Jane Giant. Narration in the book even tells us the King of Monsters senses a surge of power from the thing before. Godzilla has faced dozens of powerful opponents, but not even the big guy has felt the combined might of the X-Men hitting all at once. Remember, the plan is to communicate and reason with Godzilla first, so Charles attempts to connect with Godzilla telepathically through the now massive Super Adaptoid, and he says its rage is unparalleled. Even those weapons need more up to its own, and therefore it must be eliminated. Beast then chimes in and tells the team, I need to channels to work with sensory array. There is massive mechanical activity being detected inside that formation, and it's this information that makes it obvious to Professor X what's actually going on here. As he responds, they always escalate. It poses a danger. It must be destroyed. Then on the next page, we see that Sunfire has
That's their plan to get him an opportunity to finish in
out of the cargo ship. And it turns out they've created a hybrid of their own called the Tri-Sentinel Mecha Kaiju. And this beast contains it powers the Kaiju Biolante, Botch, and Biolante, each in a 100 punch. And at the bottom of the One from a now delayed Tsukunai robotics press release tells us working with their American industrial partners industries, Tsukunai has propagated and trained kaiju and grappling to Trask's patented Sentinel robot technology to develop a mechanized and weaponized counter to the threat of monsters and mutants alike. So that gives us the how and the why, but it also tells us that this mechanized kaiju is the serious problem for everyone involved.
Ingram's got assist number 5 here tonight.
I'll tell you, Grady Dick can shoot for days, and his confidence from beyond the arc is really incredible.
He's hit 4 now from behind the arc, 2 in each half, making an impact.
Outside Dick, back to quickly. Outside Barnes. On the wing, Grady Dick. Fade away. Hartenstein pulls it in.
Boy, no idea why he went with the fadeaway. What a clean look at the basket.
McDonald. Oh, and the dunk by MP.
MP is in a great rhythm right now. It behooves this team to just
is
keep
a
feeding the
serious
show
problem for
guy.
everyone involved. And the danger becomes violence real quick as this Frankenstein kaiju immediately attacks Godzilla, which in turn forces the X-Men, who have now realized that they have no shot at defeating both Godzilla and the Tri-Sentinel, and join forces with Godzilla to eliminate what they now understand is the real threat. So they use Storm's power to create megas of 200 miles per hour, which forces the Tri-Sentinel high in the air, giving Godzilla a clear shot at it. Then as Godzilla hits it with his atomic blast, the X-Men powered Super Adaptoid flies in and takes the Tri-Sentinel to the ground while piercing it with massive boring claws. Now this first combo attack badly damages the Tri-Sentinel, but it quickly returns and launches its own assault on Godzilla and the X-Men at the same time, driving a highly destructive battle further into the port and the Tsukunai manufacturing facility and endangering the lives of every employee there. Ultimately, it should have evacuated but stayed because, as Professor X puts it, they thought they would be safe from the Tri-Sentinel they created. Then as he scans their minds, he concludes so much fear and anger, insecurity and doubt, so afraid of being diminished that they create the very means of destruction they claim to deter. At this point, Godzilla comes to fully understand that the X-Men powered Adaptoid is working with him, so he ramps up and sees the kill shot and pushes the Tri-Sentinel back into the Super Adaptoid and uses his claws to hold it in a bear hug, allowing Godzilla to unleash a massive and prolonged blast that vaporizes the entire overhead of the Tri-Sentinel, ending the battle. As the narration tells us, they make bigger weapons, but after all this time, if there's one thing that Godzilla has proven, it's that no one is bigger than the King of Monsters. And as a side note, it's also been pretty funny to watch Sunfire just buzz around these giant battling monsters like a mosquito, trying to hit the Tri-Sentinel with its plasma beams that effectively did nothing. But it's the love that counts, I guess. Anyway, on the next page, Godzilla then turns to his key to the rest of the Tsukunai facility and the people responsible for creating these massive weapons. As the film continues to explain, it won't end so long as humans like this continue acting like humans like this do. Professor X also says that Godzilla's thoughts are not fooled by words, but by emotions, that he can feel his frustration and exhaustion. Which uses his telepathic power to calm Godzilla by sharing their feelings for humanity, which works. But to be honest, the last 2 pages of the issue get a bit sloppy for me as it tries to wrap things up and reveal that one of the Tsukunai executives really just hated Godzilla because his father was a member of the Japanese Defense Force many years ago and was killed in a destructive way in a previous fight between Godzilla and another monster. This is then used to abruptly slap together, symbolizing that it doesn't make a ton of sense and falls a bit flat for me. Regardless, in the end, Godzilla chills the freak out and returns to the ocean, knowing that the event is over and that the mutants can be trusted to take care of the humans who aren't so trustworthy. Then on the final page, the X-Men say goodbye to Sunfire and dip out, while also taking on destruction of someone else to Pippin. Anyway, these Godzilla stories just continue to be a ton of fun, with each issue focusing on a different hero, team, and something unique and cool in each of the story. And round 5 next month puts Godzilla against the Avengers, so you check it out when it drops. Just let us know in the comments if you'd like to see us cover the other titles in the series as well. Otherwise, we'll see you next time.
Here's Walter, covered by MP. Here's Pippin. Back to Ingram. Lots of room. Yep, right through the net.
Ingram can be shifty, especially when he's operating out of the two-man game.
And Mark Dagnall has called a timeout. Coach clearly has something he wants to say to his team right now. So for Oklahoma City, Hardenstein, he's checked in for Jang. Holmgren comes in for Bowl. And Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is subbed in for
Deadpool's
Wallace.
entrance into the MCU, and Deadpool Wolverine has been dominating the box office, grossing over $400 million domestically in its first 2 weeks alone, making it the most successful MCU film since Wakanda Forever in 2022. But none of that is even remotely shocking because it's got the return of Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, the first live-action team-up between Deadpool and Wolverine, a ton of fan service, including iconic cameos, and the movie is just a ridiculous amount of fun. And while we all have Deadpool on the brain today, we've lined up one of the most extensive episodes of we've ever seen. The ultimate history of Deadpool. If you watch the ultimate history of Wolverine, you know that means we're going to give you a complete overview and everything you ever need to know about Deadpool's beginnings and evolution throughout pop culture. This means we're going to cover his origin, best story arcs, powers, abilities, and feats that demonstrate how powerful he is. We're also going to talk about his greatest enemies, allies, years of the movies, AMTV, reading recommendations, and more. But with that said, let's get this train moving with Deadpool's pop culture history.
He's got 3 assists tonight. And so it's Ingram with it. He brings it up for Toronto.
It's 98 and 50 point game. He was created by Rob Liefeld and Liefeld has stated he was a massive fan of Spider-Man's designs, specifically modeled by masks. So he did the same thing for Deadpool. You look at both masks side by side, you can see how similar they are. They're both very have the giant eye circles. Deadpool has full eyelids. He looks like the black Spider-Man-like circles. But Spidey would be the only character Deadpool's creators took inspiration from. No, Deadpool is basically a parody of the Astro. Assassins, master swordsmen, marksmen, tacticians, and strategists. And of course, we can't forget that Deathstroke's name is Slade Wilson, and Deadpool's name is Wade Wilson. There's no denying that Deadpool was clearly supposed to be more of his version of Deathstroke, especially since he wasn't originally the extremely joking Wolverine character. But nonetheless, let's get into Deadpool's fictional origin, which is given to us in full in the X-Men Origins Deadpool one-shot. Issue starts off with Deadpool being several screenwriters to adapt the life into a movie, and Deadpool says everything's turned into a movie these days. TV shows, board games, candy bars, and let me tell you, I'm totally stoked for their figure. And if you guys are sooner or later, they're going to get around to me, but I want to be Hollywood's love. She doesn't like the first we're pitching him, so he shoots up. The third guy comes in and he says, so what you got? The writer says, not anything. I'm here, listen, I just want to hear your story. At which point, Deadpool floors him a drink and says, okay then, buddy, here's my story. You might be sorry you asked. After all, it's an origin story. And like so many origin stories, it starts off naked in a crazy ridiculous amount of pain as we see Wade Wilson being experimented on at Weapon X and take a fluid. Deadpool continues to say, you may ask, how did I use this tank full of water? Sharkndo's gems being my yin yang and tunes of my coffee. I was one I volunteer. See, it was either painful death from stage 4 cancer or these experimental trials in Canada. I know, the Canada thing gave me pause too. You gotta love how Deadpool makes fun of Canada and how Ryan Reynolds, as a Canadian, is Deadpool. In any case, Deadpool goes on to say, and looking back on what's happened, some might say I should have taken my chances with Big C. As we see the scientists and doctors pull his weight out of that tank saying, oh God, disgusting that what's turned into. Wade says, what? My hands were brown. I didn't lose my hands. Deadpool continues to say, as the doc explained, the experiment wasn't mixed bag. Sure, my body can regenerate itself at amazing speeds as they shoot off those figures to see if he can prove them. And they do, even though Deadpool's now feels the pain. Another doctor checks his pulse saying, he's still ugly. As another doctor or scientist says, hang on, I think I can fix this. As he lights Wade on fire with a flamethrower. Wade says, but no matter how radical the injury, I still look like human hamburger to regenerate, which wasn't exactly useful for top secret assassin type missions. Kind of the whole point. I stand out too much for him. They told me not to worry, but I sorted it out. I could chill at a resort to recover. But of course, we find out it was no resort. It was a hole in the wall leaky cell where they kept their failed experiments. Wade says, rotting away in a cell, I realized I signed on for a big course of cancer. At least cancer ends. This went on potentially forever. I had to find a way out. And one night, he was able to antagonize one of the guards thugs to open the cell and try to fight him. At which point, Wade made a run for it, saying, you don't know the joy of knowing that no matter what they throw at you, they can't kill you. I'll admit it, it made me a little giddy. He then tells the screenwriter, I escaped, I fell back on the hunters and everything, only now I had certain competitive advantages over my competition. I also decided to wear a mask, just like the people in the funny books. Along with the mask and superpowers came some truly weird gigs, like one of my earliest assignments, killing the grumpy cyborg mutant from the future, aka Cable. And this early assignment of being hired to kill Cable is actually from Deadpool's first appearance in New Mutants 98. In any case, the screenwriter says, wait, you're skipping the most important part. Tell me more about Wade Wilson, the man before he put on the mask, before the Weapon X experiment, before everything. Deadpool says, you want to hear the truth about Wade Wilson? He was an idiot. Wade Wilson was first married. Only two obviously believed that he was more earnest than a lifetime. In fact, Wade Wilson was pretty much the only person married alive who wasn't in it for fun. You was a dirtbag dictator. But then Wilson was hyper and Boston. We then see his girlfriend Vanessa just wanting some Wade. If you don't know me, happy to see him home again. She's throwing herself all over him. He says, anything from NYU Medical by any chance? He shows her the mail and says, here, just 1 second. He then opens one from NYU Medical, which says he has cancer and some contact lens to discuss treatment options. Obviously completely devastated by this, his girlfriend says, don't you understand? I want to help you through this. You are not a burden. He tells her, I'm not going to let you watch me die. She says, you're damn right. I'm not, because you're not going to. I'm going to help you beat this thing. Wade refused and left her saying, long ago I swore not to be a burden to anybody, especially not those I love. So he found himself getting drunk at bars, starting fights, breaking the noses of people when he really wanted to punch what was his real killer that starts with the capital C. Wade says, just when it seemed hopeless, I ran into another merc for hire who told me about this crazy medical experiment in Canada. And you know what happens from there. The screenwriter then tells Deadpool, this is great, let's probe deeper. Tell me more about the young Wade Wilson before he was a merc for hire, before he was an adult even. What was his childhood like? We find out a young Wade Wilson was very close with his dad. They would even play a game where his dad would slip behind their front door, and then Wade would say, who's there? His dad would reply, cash. Wade would say, cashew. And his dad would come in and say, cashew, I always knew you were a nut, as he hugs Wade. But Wade says, one day my dad slipped behind the door and never came back. I did our knock-knock routine just to see if he was waiting me out. He wasn't. Yeah, that's kind of heartbreaking. Wade continues to say, after my dad left, my mom tried to erase the pain with booze and ordering junk from cable TV channels. She joked about everything, even the crippling debt she racked up. I blame myself. She'd be fine if she didn't have to worry about it. I swore I wouldn't be a burden to anybody ever again. When I was old enough, I took advantage of the opportunity open to broke young Americans everywhere, aka the Army. My superior said I was a crack shot with a great tactical mind, a born survivor. After my Army stint, I got into business for myself. As long as I agreed with the cause, I'd pull the trigger. Got a dictator doing some ethnic cleansing? I'd rub them out for you. Some elected official starving his people? I'd make him choke on his own blood. Now isn't all that different from then, come to think of it, except I don't give a crap about the cause. You care too much, you bleed. We're crazy excited to announce the inaugural voyage of Comic-Con the Cruise. Your ears did not deceive you. Comic-Con the Cruise is the only officially licensed cruise by Comic-Con International, an actual Comic-Con on the open seas. And we're going, and we want you to join us. This 4-day luxury cruise will embark from Tampa, Florida, and make its way to Cozumel, Mexico, and combines the iconic Comic-Con experience with a crazy fan-focused cruise. This will be an amazing setting to rub shoulders with your favorite stars, artists, writers, and have a blast with a community of fellow fans. I'm talking theme nights with costumes and cosplay and original nightly entertainment from the onboard talent, including Return of the Jedi Willem Star, Warwick Davis, Star Trek's George Takei, Ghostbusters Ernie Hudson, and many more. This crazy cool event takes place from February 5th through February 9th, 2025, on board Royal Caribbean's Serenade of the Seas. I mean, this is the ultimate fan adventure. Oh, did I mention Tim and I are going? Because we are. And 2 of you are going with us for free. That's right, as an exclusive just for our variant fan, you can enter to win a free cruise for 2. And this is one of those little things where 7 billion other people enter and you have no chance. This is purely for those who are watching Variant and enter. So that could be, to enter to win, just go to comiccondecruise.com/variant. And you could also use the same link to reserve your cabins today. As a bonus, any member of the Variant community who does will receive $250 onboard credit per cabin if you book using the promo code VARIANT. That onboard credit can be used during the cruise for excursions, specialty restaurants, spa treatments, onboard shopping, beverage packages, and more.
When I was 16, I was busy doing this. When I was 17, I was busy doing this.
Yeah.
I didn't have a clue how to release music until I found a distributor called DistroKid who made it so easy for me. Now I'm 27.
Beverage packages, and more. And here is the best part. You can book a cabin now and lock in a spot, and if you win the giveaway, you'll be refunded the cost of the cruise. It's a win-win. You only have until August 30th, 2024 to enter.
Florida is used to tourists, but there are visitors who nobody ever asked for. Hundreds of plants and animals have settled into the Sunshine State, clearly taking advantage of its hospitality. In total, more than 500 non-native species have been in Florida. Some of them don't cause much trouble. And many have turned into a threat to people, wildlife, and even the economy. It makes their adaptation quick and easy. Today, invasive species cost Florida more than $500 million a year. We've already taken over 1.7 million acres. Far south of the state has become a refuge for outsiders. More thicker than in any other region of the U.S. mainland. The only place worse is Hawaii. We'll get to that another time. From ants to amphibians, from birds to fish and plants, South Florida has turned into an invasion hotspot for every possible touchdown.
He has made it a point to become the best player in his conference. And he's let everyone know about it. He wants in that game badly.
All-star games in this league are special, and you can't fault MP for wanting to see being
Yet another non-native animal into Florida that would deal with all the previous ones. For example,
the defensive approach against him. We might be seeing some elevated intensity with MP on the court. I'm excited to see how he fights to win in those matchups.
The Komodo dragon is the largest lizard on the planet. Humans can stretch up to 10 feet and weigh over 308 pounds. Humans in there around 154 pounds. That's still pretty hefty. Looks like he was made to be an apex predator. A red flat head, a heavy snout, crooked legs, and a massive muscular tail. No wonder all the reports like the lizard settles out of the food chain. Whenever they come across from carrion to deer, buffalo, pig, and even their own cub. Their appetite is insane. In one sitting, a lizard can swallow up to 8% of its own body weight. And outsiders eat their deers. Most of their current diet is spam. Most prominent might be the lesser Sudan, where the monitors live, were never connected to the mainland. The only large herbivores there were dwarf elephants. Everything else I mentioned, deer, pigs, and other species showed up together with humans. And monitor adapted to that, turning
Another miss by MP.
equally effective in dealing with local and non-local animals. All in all, by every measure, it's the perfect personal predator. Voracious, powerful, and second to none. In theory, this is exactly the kind of predator Florida needs. The Komodo can keep virtually any invasive species in check, one exceptions.
And Mark
The conclusion is,
calls
can a creature from distant islands really survive in Florida?
potential alterations.
Yes, and here it'll feel.
He is here to see the numbers for Davis. He's coming off an excellent season. He averaged about 23 points per, 10 rebounds, and 3 assists.
It's hard to wrap your head around numbers like these, but that is just what he delivers night in and night out.
You know, it's so easy for us to take him for granted, to get spoiled with what he does. I think we have to be more appreciative of the kind of impact this man has in every game he plays.
And just under 2.5 minutes elapsed here in the
Weather
third.
keeps the state warm, making it a perfect spot for animals usually found only recently in tropical forests or far off islands. In short, the conditions seem almost tailor-made for the local dragons.
Kyrie Irving has got to be as skilled a player as we've seen in the NBA.
Well, I tell you what, I don't know if I've ever seen a better layup maker than him. I played against Isaiah Thomas, read about Nate Overall and some of the other great small ball guards. But man, this kid, Kyrie Irving, well, young man now, 50, 40
is perfect for animals.
and a lot of times he's making acrobatic layups against 6'9", 7'4" guys.
Chance to win $100,000.
This is I just want to shoot the frozen ball.
And we've got an injury on the floor. Very unfortunate as always, guys. Don't like to see this.
Freeze for time and shelter. On the contrary, they feel right at home.
And that's injury.
Florida might
You
actually
know, aside from some of the player protection rules, which have been a benefit, a lot of it just comes down to what the body can withstand.
Daniel Gafford's checked in for Dallas. Topic is checked in for the Thunder. Outside, Davis.
First, their situations
They get a hand on it, and stolen by MP. And here's the fast break. Holmgren leading the way.
Nature listed one of the visitors as vulnerable. Yes, there were fewer than 14.
And they're unable to get the time basket there.
Was considered
And this
stable.
quarter, he has
And other threats
been on
barely
the mark.
affected. Everything changed in 2021. That year, the IUCN put package to the endangered species list. The reason was no triple disease. It's the climate. Models showed that by 2040, rising sea levels could swallow 30 to 70% of their food. You see what the problem is? If the limits to make some adjustments to the game plan clearly.
And while we've got a moment, let's send it over to our terrific reporter, David Aldridge. David?
Hey guys, MP in the last game against the 76ers did some solid work. He was scoring 26 points, and he was a contributor on the defensive end as well.
In the spring of 2024, Wild Hogs practically took over large parts of Florida and haven't shown any signs of backing down since. These animals are descendants of pigs brought over by Spanish colonists back in the 16th century. But over time, they've gone feral